Welcome to the Captain's Log with me, Captain Christina Zamora from blogtrek.net. The Captain's Log is a podcast where I document my day and style it like a Star Trek episode. If you enjoyed the podcast, check out blogtrek.net where I have pictures, stories, and more. I hope you like this subspace transmission. Captain's Blog, Stardate 08272021.4. Our ability to undertake missions has been adversely affected by the dense ionized nebula our ship finds itself in. In plain English, the wildfire smoke has drastically reduced air quality. Additionally, it has been difficult to conduct away missions when the interstellar radiation reaches above 90 milligrams degrees Fahrenheit. Still, with some shift adjustments, we've been able to continue to provide limited assistance to the quadrant. During my time near Starfleet headquarters downtown, I found myself once again reflecting on whether or not it was acceptable to be trans and bisexual. Most major religious texts and dogma generally look at being non-heterosexual and trans as being a sin. When I spoke to Captain Raymond regarding the matter previously, he brought up an example of a devout Bajoran Catholic he met that identified as homosexual but chose not to act on it. His position was that the act was sinful but not the feelings. Essentially, the guy, by not acting on his feelings, was giving up everything for Christ, and in doing so, Christ would also not hold back on him when his time came. The Catholic guy's abstinence is admirable, but I'm inclined to believe that sacrifice is unnecessary. When I look at most religious texts, the key underlying theme is love. God is love, and our main purpose seems to be to love God and each other. That is the greatest commandment in the Bible. The root of all sin seems to be the overindulgence in self, especially when it is detrimental to others. The Bible talks about Satan having been cast down because of his pride. I also believe the concept of Jesus is about acknowledging one's faults, being humble, and trying to help one another. Taken as a whole, I believe following these underlying precepts is where the truth is at, whether you get there via Christianity, humanism, or another belief system. I bring all this up because I believe trying to be trans and or non-heterosexual doesn't necessarily stop one from following these truths, but could potentially hinder if not careful. I think it can be easy to become overly indulgent when it comes to sex in general. I've always felt like because society and most of religion rejects the LGBTQ, that the LGBTQ plus individuals tend to reject the usual societal conventions and therefore are more open to being wildly indulgent and undertaking risky sex practices. It's tricky. I do believe one should enjoy their body and their life. I think the problem happens when you focus on becoming more about pleasing yourself, being narcissistic, and not partaking in activities that make the world a better place. When your sexual identity and preference takes up more time and energy than doing what's right, I think that's when it's an issue. I feel like if I can become a better person because I am trans and expressing my orientation, that I at least can make a compelling argument when I'm being judged. An interesting argument against being trans that Captain Raymond made was that presenting as non-cis, being gay or trans, was that it makes others feel uncomfortable and therefore it is pro-social and a considerate thing to do to not express being LGBTQ plus around others. Part of me wants to say, well, suck it up, buttercup, because I'm here and I'm queer. It's a case of who should defer to whom. I think that the onus falls on those that present themselves as loving individuals. The quadrant is full of diverse species and cultures. I'm inclined to believe that love, true love, isn't about showing compassion when it's easy, but precisely when it's hard. Acceptance is at the root of many religious traditions, which state that one should love thy enemy or anyone different than yourself. All fall short of being perfect and therefore shouldn't be quick to judge. I have encountered many heterosexual captains that have vowed support for the LGBT. One scenario I wonder about is if they would put their own existence on the line before God. Would they say, God, if LGBT folks can't be in heaven, I don't want to be either? Personally, I'm just happy to be tolerated, and I don't expect that sort of vow from anyone, but I would be very curious. I'll have to ask Captain Raymond about this, as he is a progressive Christian, in spite of playing devil's advocate for me during some of our conversations. Speaking of the devil, my ex, General Brandy of the Klingons, contacted me via subspace. I regularly jam the Klingons' transmissions, but every so often something gets through. She is going through her usual Ketracel White induced emotional volatility. I get a transmission from Brandon stating that she is going to commit suicide, and I get a Cash App notification that she sent me $2,000. Of course, all of it is just an attempt to grab my attention. She knows I wouldn't accept it under those pretenses, despite how much I could use it. I try to follow my principles and offer advice, but I don't think she's looking to truly change. Instead, it seems she's looking for someone to reassure and or condone her rather destructive behavior and decisions. If I really let loose about what I really thought about her, I'd probably drive her to actually committing suicide. I've learned to show restraint in spite of how tempting it is to really go in on her. Part of my heart still needs to learn to be more loving and uplifting. Still, I'm going to put more measures in place to avoid on all contact and focus on my duties as a Starfleet officer. As I look ahead, I have a rendezvous with Captain Goodwin on Sunday after my departure from the Unitarian outpost in the Arden sector. He is going to take me around on his motorcycle. I'm tempted to wear my leather pants. I've never rode on one. Part of me wishes it was Captain Eric, but he always finds a way to lash out on me for no reason. He could be so fun. So insightful. Anyways, time to set course for my next mission. And this concludes this episode of the Captain's Log. Thank you for joining me. Goodbye.